officially done with Ghostbusters, and since Godzilla X Kong comes out this weekend, let's finish off the Monsterverse, starting out with Godzilla King of Monsters, which was released 5 years ago. It is the second Godzilla film, but it's also the third film within the Monsterverse. Let's review. So Godzilla King of the Monsters, it takes place 5 years after the events of the first film, Godzilla 2014. Humans are trying to find a way to coexist with the huge titan, but also other monsters keep popping up around the world, and it's up to Godzilla to stop them all and reign supreme as the king. Now, if you remember back in 2019 when this first came out, there were some people that loved this film, and there are some people, myself included, that wasn't too fond of it. Mainly because we felt like this movie was a bit of a step down from the first film, from the grinded tone that first film had. And this film leaned more so towards the more fun side, which I do like, but at the same time, I still require some of these movies to have a little bit more substance. But over the years, after multiple rewatches, I've grown to appreciate it for what it is. And I also remember back in 2021, revisiting this film in prep for Godzilla vs. Kong. So let's revisit the Lassiter Factor archives. Concluding my Monsterverse marathon with Godzilla King of Monsters, this was my third time watching this. The first time I watched it in the theater and I wasn't too fond of it. Then the second time I tried to watch it was when it came out on Blu-ray, and at that time I was kind of going through it at the time, and so I wasn't really in the right mindset to watch it. Then now the third time watching it in context with the rest of the series and with the crowd, I was like Thanos at the beginning of Avengers Endgame. Perhaps I treated you too harshly. Now, I am not saying that this is a perfect film, because it's not. The monster fights and some of the human characters that are not boring, with a silly plot that I can have fun with in context of the film, is what saved this film for me. And because of that, I'm giving Godzilla King of the Monsters the thumbs up emoji. How do I feel after revisiting this film again in prep for Godzilla X Kong? About the same as I did 2 years ago when I rewatched this film. I felt the human characters that were not boring were good, the action was awesome, and even now, within context with the rest of the series, especially with the Monarch TV series, I think this film is a lot more better. In fact, the Monarch TV series makes this movie look more better. And because I knew what I was getting into with this movie gave me exactly what I asked for. But this time around, I do notice a lot more details that I didn't notice all the other times when I rewatched this film. Like how they have Monarch outposts at different areas where there would be a monster or a monster egg hatching or whatever. They got an outpost on Skull Island, which is where Kong is, and that sets up Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, in this film, we follow the Russell family, which consists of Mark Russell, played by Kyle Chandler, Emma Russell, played by Vero, and their daughter, Madison Russell, played by Millie Bobby Brown. Now, at the beginning of this film, it is revealed that they did have a son, but the son was killed during the Godzilla vs. Muto fight at the end of the first movie. And that whole plot, it basically sets both parents apart to where they're fighting over their remaining child. Mark, he wants nothing to do with Monarch or Godzilla or whatever because he hasn't really forgiven Godzilla for what happened to their son. And Emma, she decides to take matters into her own hands, and there's just this whole subplot of her releasing all the monsters just to kill millions because she feels like, and it is kind of true in a way, these monsters are here just to restore balance to the world. And she feels the only way to restore balance is to release these monsters all over the world and kill millions. And if that happens, then there's the solution to pollution, population. Now, in hindsight, I mean, she has a point, but at the same time, it's like, woman, what are you doing? And real quick side note, one thing I do notice about Vera Farmiga is every time she plays a mother, she's playing a terrible mother. Like, I can't be the only one that noticed that. But Emma Russell, she has this device that's basically supposed to tame all the monsters. I do like how we get even more monsters, such as Mothra, Rodan, and the big one, King Ghidorah, who turns out to be just some alien from outer space. He, she, whatever it is a three-headed monster. They had a long rivalry with Godzilla. Godzilla put him in the ice in Antarctica, and then they come back, and King Ghidorah is trying to reign supreme as the king of the monsters. But of course, Godzilla, he is not having it. Now, the returning characters from this film is Dr. Sorozawa from the first film, played by Ken Watanabe, and his assistant, Dr. Graham, played by Sally Hawkins. But spoiler alert, both of them died before the end of the movie, but Dr. Sorozawa, he has a great death scene in which he goes to where Godzilla, he is trying to heal himself, but then Dr. Sorozawa, he provides some more radiation so Godzilla can come back bigger and stronger than ever. And just that whole scene in general, it was just touching because Sorozawa, he is a character from the Toho verse of Godzilla, and even heard and read up that Sozawa in the original films, he was trying to kill Godzilla, but here he is trying to restore Godzilla and bring salvation. And there is a whole meaning between him and his clock, and I even like the theme of this movie that I totally did not notice the first couple of times I watched this film, and that is the theme of grief. Because like I said, this family, they are grieving over the loss of their son, and the dad in particular, he has to come to terms and see Godzilla for what he truly is. It's silly, but forgive Godzilla, but also forgive himself and move on and realize that they have one child left and it's up to him to protect that child. Other performances in this film include O'Shea Jackson, which completes the holy trinity of straight outta Compton actors that appeared in the Monsterverse. But the whole theme of this movie is grief, and Dr. Sozawa, his whole thing is, well, he read from a fortune cookie. I like how the theme is like, in order to heal our wounds, we must face the demons that created them. And that is prominent with Mark Russell in this movie. He must face his demons as well as Dr. Sozawa, and he faced his demons in this movie. I really like the atomic blast in this movie, and I just love the sound. Like, every time I'm this might be TMI, but now ever since I rewatched this movie, every time I'm taking this shit, I just imagine I'm just doing an atomic blast, and that sound is just popping up in my head. Why did I do that? But that final battle at the end where Godzilla's fighting King Ghidorah, it just kicks ass. And once he finally does defeat King Ghidorah, all the other monsters, they come and bow down to Godzilla, and he is truly the king of the monsters. Long live the king. And I just love the end credits when they played this rock rendition of Go Go Godzilla. In the end, I say Godzilla, King of the Monsters, is basically that transition point. It tried to take on the serious tone of the first film, Godzilla 2014, but also take on some of the more lighthearted stuff from Kong Skull Island. They was trying to crack the code on how to make a balance to the point where once we get to Godzilla vs. Kong, it is just right. But like I said, Godzilla, King of the Monsters, it's a movie that I like the more I watch it. I appreciate it for what it is. Do I think it's a perfect film? No, but it is still an enjoyable film and a good entry into the Monsterverse. I'm going to give Godzilla, King of the Monsters the thumbs up emoji.